Jennifer Lopez was once homeless. It's very hard to believe now, but before Jennifer Lopez was the proud owner of multiple homes across the country, including her $40 million estate in Miami and a $24 million penthouse in New York City, she was actually homeless. Lopez found herself out of her family home following a disagreement with her mother, Guadalupe Rodriguez, about her pursuing a dance career instead of furthering her education. Showing how serious she was about becoming a dancer despite her mom's opposition, J.Lo started spending her nights at the dance studio she practiced at. Now, she recalled in a 2013 interview saying, "My mom and I butted heads. I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to try dancing full time. So she and I had a break. I started sleeping on the sofa in the dance studio. I was homeless, but I told her this is what I have to do." Fortunately, it wasn't actually long until her dance career actually took off, and that became the jumping off point for the incredible career she's carved out for herself. Lopez got a dancing gig in Europe a few months after the fallout with her mom, and then landed her dream job as a fly girl on the TV sketch comedy show In Living Color in 1991, which caused her to make the big move to Los Angeles. The rest, as we know now, is history. The star believes because of this life experience, she will instill a strong work ethic in her twins Max and Em through leading by example. She once explained, "I think a lot about teaching my kids to work hard. I've learned something about kids. They don't do what you say, they do what you do. I watched my parents, my dad worked nights, and I was aware of how much he was doing for us. My mom was a Tupperware lady and also worked at the school. I always felt that I couldn't let them down, and I had a natural discipline from early on. I was always training for something." Money for Jennifer wasn't always easy to come by. Though she's become one of the richest stars in the world, she's worth like a huge $400 million according to Celebrity Net Worth, there was actually a time when Jennifer Lopez was so poor she could only afford to eat one slice of pizza a day. Speaking to Entertainment Tonight, she actually recalled her bare minimum diet before landing her role on In Living Color, admitting she survived on pizza for a couple of years. She actually shared a little more about that difficult period in a 2014 interview with the Sydney Morning Herald after she was asked what she would do if she only had $100 in the bank. She said, "I've been there when I only had $100 or $20 and had to eat a pizza every day for dinner, which cost about $1.50 back at that time when I was a dancer struggling as an artist." So, while those times were certainly tough, it sounds like the singer wouldn't change them, as they're part of, what made her the global superstar that she is today. J.Lo said, "Those are the years that shape you. Right when you're struggling, you're trying to make it, you learn resilience, you learn discipline, you learn not to give up and to have faith." Lopez added she actually found things only got tougher the more successful she became because, there's more pressure, more scrutiny, and more expectation. Jennifer Lopez has been a victim of bullying. Even J.Lo isn't immune to trolls and bullies. The superstar has been subject to an extreme amount of vicious comments over the years and hasn't made a secret about how it's negatively affected her before she learned how to ignore it. She confessed in a 2018 interview that in the early part of her career, it made her feel really bad about herself. While recalling some of the hateful comments she received, she said, "My first song went to #1, my album went to #1, and my first movie went to #1. And I was like, yeah, I'm killing it." And then everyone was like, she can't sing, she can't dance, she can't act, she's just a pretty face, or, her butt's too big, or whatever they were saying about me. She admitted that she even started to believe the nasty comments herself. She said, "It really hurt me for a long time." And Lopez, now ex-husband Ben Affleck, also spoke about the hate that he saw her receive during their relationship when they dated between 2002 and 2003. On a 2021 episode of the Hollywood Reporters Awards Chatter podcast, he actually said people were so mean about her and accused the tabloids in particular of just writing horrible things about her. He said, "Ugly, vicious stuff was written about her in ways that if you wrote it now, you would literally be fired for saying those things." Jennifer Lopez had a very close aunt pass away that absolutely devastated her. Jennifer Lopez has made it no secret of her close relationships with her family members and was left devastated after her Aunt Rose passed in 2019. She shared a heartbreaking and touching tribute to her aunt, who she affectionately affectionately referred to as TT Rose on Instagram in August of that year. She told fans how much she loved and admired her. Lopez shared her admiration for her long marriage to her uncle, who Rose was actually laid to rest next to. She wrote that the late couple's 3 children were her closest cousins growing up, and told fans that they had, such a close bond that she considered them to even be sisters. She said, "Today we lay to rest my TT Rose. We will lay her next to our beloved uncle, as was her wish, who were married their whole lives and had 3 beautiful daughters. I have so many emotions as I write this about how fierce, tough, and unapologetically Rose was. She taught me what it was to be a hard-working woman." She continued to say, "She, like the other women I was fortunate enough to be raised by, taught me to be independent and unafraid of life and what it would bring." Jennifer Lopez admitted to having a nervous breakdown a few years after her breakthrough success with Selena. Before she went on to appear in movies like Made in Manhattan and Monster-in-Law, Jennifer Lopez had what she described as a nervous breakdown on set in 2001. Lopez was shooting for the drama movie Enough and found herself suddenly hit with an unexpected wave of emotion. She went on to recall it in 2008, saying, "I was like, I don't want to move, I don't want to talk, I don't want to do anything. I had a nervous breakdown." Lopez said there was no telltale signs that it was coming, and shared the terrifying details of how, initially, she had no idea what was happening to her and had, to sit and do nothing in her trailer to calm down. She continued to say, "It's funny what tricks your mind plays on you. I just didn't want people to think I was falling apart, but when I look back on it now, it's so odd to me that those are the words I chose to say. I am not weak." She recalled how her bodyguard had to put her in the car, and she went straight to the doctor, who diagnosed her as being sleep deprived and overworked. The doctor tried to prescribe her pills, though she declined them, and Lopez was told not to go back to set until she had at least 2 days of sleep. She did, and fortunately the superstar was okay, but she also recalled a time she was sitting in her trailer again and suddenly completely froze, and she let her self-care needs completely go. She said, "I found myself physically paralyzed. I couldn't see clearly, and then the physical symptoms I was having started to scare me, and the fear compounded itself." Again, Jen was taken to the doctor, who basically told her she needed to make like a huge lifestyle change. No caffeine, lots of sleep, and lots of exercise. So, she made the changes, and although she had many anxiety attacks here and there, she's overcome the scary sagas and credits her lifestyle now to just calculated moderation. Jennifer Lopez struggled a lot with her parents' divorce. Jennifer Lopez's parents didn't have the traditional happy ending to their romance, as their union ended in divorce 33 years after they tied the knot. The split took its toll on their daughter, and she struggled to return to their family home after a very difficult conversation about their split. For a 2013 interview with W, she went home for the first time since her parents called her and her siblings, and she went back to tell them about their divorce. She said, "I think that's why I was nervous about coming here today. It's like seeing someone from the past. You're afraid to run into them because you never know if it's going to be like a wow or if it's going to be very difficult. This is a combination of both." But despite the demise of their marriage, Jennifer doesn't have a bad relationship with her parents or bad memories of her childhood growing up in the Bronx. She actually credits her mom and dad, for her strong work ethic, noting she learned how to work hard by watching them. Now, I can't leave this conversation without talking about just how tragic her love story with Ben Affleck has been. We all got a glimmer of hope and a feeling of nostalgic redemption when Bennifer 2.0 was in full swing. Personally, I was very happy. I don't know about you guys, but I was living for it. Being a very lukewarm fan of J.Lo and a medium spicy fan of Ben's, I actually rooted for them back in the early 2000s, and when news of Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck's divorce broke, 2 years after they married and 2 decades after they first fell in love, entertainment reporters began discussing it like crazy. Affleck and Lopez first dated between 2002 and 2004, and even at their heights, both of them could sell more magazines than tickets. Now, both of them were beautiful and inoffensive and seemed to fear and feed on the attention they got. Like many of our most enduring stars, she is now perhaps most famous for being her, J.Lo. He is mainly famous now for looking sad and depressed all the time, but the dissolution of one of 2020's most shocking celebrity reunions was made official on January 6, bringing an end to a whirlwind saga that began back in 2021 when Ben and Jen reunited before getting officially married the following year. Now, despite how sad, fans might be about their her undoing. A source close to J.Lo has said that she's in a really good place and just wants to close the door on this crazy chapter. The only silver lining is that she's keeping the $5 million wedding ring like all the others that she's kept. And listen, I don't want, their sad ending to discourage you from spinning the block though, because look at Nelly and Ashanti, they're happy and thriving.
Alright, the Grammys, let's address it. What did J.Lo do that had people turning against her again? The first was her dress when she presented the award for Best Latin Pop Album to Shakira. I mean, people just didn't like it. The top was a black long sleeve, which is not that offensive. The problem was the skirt. It was a sparkly sheer fabric, and the top was really bunched up on the skirt. It was just a lot of fabric at the top of it. The overwhelming sentiment was that it just wasn't visually appealing, but an unpopular fashion choice isn't the only thing that people are attacking the star for. Allegedly, at the pre-Grammy gala, J.Lo was chewing gum. And that is where the sentence ends, while she was chewing gum with her mouth open and talking to people. A video was captured of J.Lo speaking to someone at the event while chewing gum, and for this, she was called classless, tacky, and mannerless. When I first read this story, I thought, oh, was she in the middle of a red carpet interview? No, she was just walking around the party and interacting with people. It's also hilarious that people are reacting to her chewing gum like it's a criminal offense, because J.Lo was actually almost charged with a criminal offense over the holidays in 1999. This was a major story when it dropped a couple decades ago, but it's kind of faded into the background since. But it's gained traction again because of the person that J.Lo was taken into custody alongside. None other than her boyfriend at the time, Sean Diddy Combs. Diddy is currently accused of numerous horrible things, and he has been held for the past few months awaiting a trial that will take place this year. But that's not the crime that J.Lo was connected to, of course. That crime was a result of a night of clubbing in December of 1999. At a club, Diddy and another patron got into a physical altercation that resulted in weapons firing. Diddy and J.Lo fled the scene, engaged in a car chase with local police. J.Lo was detained for quite a long time, almost over 12 hours, but eventually released. Diddy did go to court and was cleared of all charges in the end. Now, it wasn't until recently that J.Lo's participation in the altercation went under a microscope. She has since been accused of being the one that brought the weapon into the club when it was originally believed that she had never touched it. This new info came from a lawsuit filed against Diddy last year, but it included a description of the alleged moments before the raid on Diddy's home. Jones Jr. claimed that day, Diddy had been showing off his weapons, took responsibility for the club altercation in 1999, and that J.Lo was the person that carried the weapon into the club and handed it to Diddy when the fight started. This statement does contradict accounts taken at the time of the event, so it's unclear who is actually telling the truth right now or how innocent J.Lo was in the end. The internet certainly decided that she wasn't innocent at last year's Met Gala. TikTok sounded the alarm after a video of J.Lo on the Met Gala steps went viral last year. A short interaction turned into a huge online hate campaign, and here's what happened. Annika Reed was invited to the gala that year as an interviewer. She would end up posting clips from her interviews to her TikTok page. And for the most part, the interactions were very positive with all the other celebrities, except for the star of today's video, J.Lo. Watching this video back, I don't think J.Lo was being that rude, but I am the minority in the conversation. The internet and comment section tore the singer to bits. Here's what happened, form your own judgment. There were some clips of J.Lo smiling and posing on the carpet, and then as she's walking up the final set of stairs to the top, that's when Reed asked her question to J.Lo. She had to kind of shout it a bit because J.Lo wasn't stopping for interviews at that time. She asked standard red carpet question, "Who are you wearing tonight?" J.Lo, still ascending the stairs, glanced over, said a quick, smileless Schiaparelli before continuing on. Reed's caption on the video didn't overly convey that she felt slighted by J.Lo, but the comment section told a very different story. People were calling the performer rude. One person said that Reed got the J.Lo experience, and overall, they weren't happy. I think J.Lo's less than enthusiastic response in comparison to other celebrities that evening worked against her, although she was actively making sure her and her dress made it up the Met Gala stairs without completely toppling over. The biggest red flag Jennifer Lopez is hiding or trying to hide from the public would have to be her ex-husband, not Ben Affleck. I'm talking about the original Owani Noah. Once you stack up all the evidence against this man, red can be his color. Of course, all this is subjective, and divorce does affect everyone differently, and it's not an easy thing to get divorced, but Noah's behavior over the past few decades hasn't always been kind. It all started back in the 90s when J.Lo married Noah. They were married about 11 months before getting divorced. Now, there was quite a bit of lead up to the divorce, it appears. J.Lo's career was taking off. She had been a dancer on a TV show and then had great success with the biopic Selena, in which she played Selena. Noah at the time was also an entertainer, he still is, but mainly he worked in the restaurant industry. He actually met J.Lo when he was a waiter, and then over the course of their marriage, he opened up his own restaurant. There were always signs that things weren't perfect between the pair. Noah claims that he wasn't always a big fan of the spotlight, he refused to attend red carpets with J.Lo. He also once claimed that J.Lo was cheating on him with Diddy. J.Lo dated Diddy after her divorce. The pair worked together on a music video for a Diddy track and felt a connection, but have said that they didn't pursue it at the time because J.Lo was married. Still, Noah claims that the pair did get involved. He says it happened when J.Lo was putting together her first album and they were separated a lot. Noah had to stay in one city for his restaurant and J.Lo was flying back and forth between two other cities. Noah says that he would try and see her whenever he could, but the separation did more harm than anything else. J.Lo told a different story as to how the relationship broke down in a few interviews after the divorce. One time, she made a comment about how her financial status was just better than Noah's and likely always would be, and that was hard for the man to accept. She said that he was the type to prefer that he were the breadwinner and that she were home washing dishes, yet she was the breadwinner for the couple and was the one paying for many of the things the couple enjoyed, like their home, for example. Noah did not take the split very well at all. It's almost 3 decades later and he is still talking about J.Lo and their marriage and how it hurt a lot. I don't doubt that the divorce was hard, but when I say he hasn't let it go, I mean it. When J.Lo got back with Affleck, Noah was there to say he didn't see the relationship lasting. When they got divorced, he made a statement. He's made the claim that he was the pioneer when it comes to J.Lo's marriages. There might be a reason why the pioneer is still seemingly held up over the 11-month marriage. He was really into it, sure, but there was also an incident that happened after the divorce that made things go from bad to worse. Jennifer Lopez was opening her own restaurant, and she needed someone in charge. She knew Noah, he had a lot of experience in the industry, she still cared for him, so she asked if he wanted to do it. She promised to take care of him and that she wouldn't fire him without a good reason. Things were fine until a few months after opening when Noah was fired, and when he tried to ask why, allegedly, no answer. Since J.Lo essentially broke her promise, he took her to court and it actually ended in his favor. But that was the last time that he would have the courts in favor of him when it came to him and J.Lo. When he and J.Lo broke up, there was an agreement that he wouldn't share any damaging personal details about the singer and their relationship. After the restaurant thing though, it seems Noah's gloves were off and he was ready to swing with a book about his relationship with J.Lo. J.Lo's team blocked it, of course, because it went against the agreement. Court documents say it was also apparently going to insinuate J.Lo cheated. Noah did owe J.Lo money after that incident. Despite all that, he tried again attempting to release a parody movie that was allegedly going to include a look at the couple's home life, but J.Lo didn't want the book. Of course she wouldn't want a movie. It looks like Noah and his team thought that they could get away with a movie easier if it was a parody, because technically it's not like J.Lo being shown on the screen, but it's a clear parody of J.Lo. It was shut down anyway. At the time, one of the movie's producers was working on their own J.Lo project that, in their words, turned radioactive after the lawsuit about Noah's movie was done. I mean, no studio wanted to finance something that might never make it off the ground or will be sued into oblivion. She sued J.Lo over it, but it was eventually dropped. So, after a few cheating accusations, lawsuits, and comments on all her relationships over the years, it's not hard to see why Jenny from the block wants to leave this man in her past.
I bet you didn't know this, and as if all the Diddy drama he's currently been facing wasn't enough, here's a story you've likely never heard that involves Jenny from the good old block. So, Jennifer Lopez and Sean Diddy Combs dated way back in 1999 after he was a producer on her hit debut album On the Six. The pair split in 2001 and Lopez has remained tight-lipped about the pair's relationship, but in December of 1999, Sean Diddy Combs, Jennifer Lopez, his bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones, and a 21-year-old rapper Jamal Shine Barrow, a Combs protege, were involved in a disagreement at Club New York in Manhattan that ended with blasting and left 3 people injured. Combs, Lopez, and Jones left the club and led police on a wild chase through New York City that ended with police finding a stolen firearm inside the car. Now, Netania Rubin, one of 3 people injured during the altercation, maintains Combs was the one who hit her that night and has renewed her accusation in recent days. Now, Combs and Lopez were arrested, detained, and initially charged for their involvement, but the charges were quickly dropped against Lopez. Combs, Jones, and Barrow faced charges related to firearm possession, and prosecutors alleged Combs and Jones attempted to bribe the driver of the car that left the nightclub to tell police the firearm was his in exchange for $50,000. I personally don't see a scenario where $50K is worth like any amount of jail time, but go off. After a weeks-long trial, Combs and Jones were acquitted, but a New York jury found Barrow guilty of 5 charges, including criminal possession of a firearm, aggravated harm, and reckless endangerment, though Barrow was acquitted of attempted homicide. Now, J.Lo actually didn't have much to say then nor now about the incident, but in a July 2000 interview, Lopez described the incident as a complete nightmare and saying that she was scared to death in the car. I had absolutely no idea what was going on. No one did. Since all of the recent Diddy drama has been happening, there has been a call to actually reopen the case, which would require a new or confirmed statement from Lopez. But will she give it? Likely not. Her lips are as sealed shut now as they were in 2000, just like a kiss from a rose. Now, you might be wondering, what does this have to do with J.Lo? How does this make her sketchy or like quote unquote evil? Well, it is alleged that the firearm that injured 3, with one actually hitting one woman in the face, was not only brought by J.Lo, but she allegedly handed it to Diddy the second he started getting into the altercation. So just let that one sink in. I want to actually get into some more juicy J.Lo drama. You remember her 2020 Super Bowl halftime show performance where she took the stage with Shakira, right? Well, it wasn't all footballs and butterflies, okay? Let it be known, there was no reported incident of J.Lo directly dissing Shakira. However, there were rumors of tension between them before and actually after their performance. So let's get into it. Some pre-performance rumors say that reports suggest Lopez and Shakira disagreed over set time and performance length, with Lopez allegedly being the difficult to please one in this instance. Now, rumors also indicated they both had very different artistic visions, but in the end, you guessed it, J.Lo won that battle and basically got everything she wanted, like a real true diva at any cost, it seems though, right? So now one rumor that hit a nerve for a lot of Shakira fans is that when Shakira was doing her like belly dancing, a lot of people saw J.Lo's reaction and basically said she looked disinterested, dismissive, and like essentially disapproving of Shakira's moves. I saw it. Shakira looked fire, like it's giving jealousy by J.Lo. Fans also speculated about tension between Lopez and Shakira based on their social media interactions. Shakira actually posted a pic on Instagram with both her and J.Lo in the shot, while J.Lo actually only posted one with just herself to promote the Super Bowl performance. Now, I'm not gonna lie, like I would definitely feel away if I was Shakira. And again, there's no direct evidence that support these claims that Lopez dissed Shakira, and both artists actually have maintained that they denied these rumors and have even praised each other's performances. So like whether there was actually any malice behind J.Lo's actions, I guess we'll never truly know. But what do you guys think though? Like big red flags or like a little baby pink one? I want to talk about J.Lo's lack of accountability, and this may not seem evil or like a red flag, but ask yourself this again once I'm actually done. So J.Lo has been accused of many things. Like, okay, let's forget that she's a diva in her own right, and maybe she has even like earned that title. But something she's been accused of can't just be overlooked so easy or chalked up to like, oh, she's just a Hollywood diva. You know, firstly, she's been accused of plagiarism. Now, not only with her music, but like with her music videos, and we're not just talking lyrics, but allegedly also taking vocals. So J.Lo has faced accusations of using Ashanti's, our R&B queen of the early 2000s, vocals without proper credit on several songs, like including I'm Real and Ain't It Funny. Ashanti had recorded demo versions of these songs, and parts of her vocals were allegedly used in the final tracks. That's wild. And like, despite all the claims being pretty strong and solid, J.Lo has quite honestly taken no accountability at all. Like, she actually hasn't even addressed the claims once. And she's also had quite a few lawsuits. So she's been sued for copyright infringement, breach of contract, and unfair business practices, all of which she hasn't addressed or taken any real accountability for either. Like, I love me a problematic queen, but this is a lot. Another horrible moment for J.Lo was in 2017 when she faced backlash after posting a message on Instagram expressing her support for unity and peace following protests in Charlottesville, Virginia. Now, her post included the hashtag All Lives Matter, which some interpreted as dismissive of the Matter movement, and critics argued that Lopez understood BLM's movement's purpose, and some felt that All Lives Matter downplayed systemic racism. Others criticized Lopez for her apparent ignorance of social injustice issues. So all in all, the consensus was that her post was insensitive and tone deaf. She did delete the post like literally 10 minutes later. Like, that's how quick and easy it is to get canceled in Hollywood, folks, so be careful. But will you be surprised if I tell you she not only did not take accountability, but she didn't publicly apologize either, explain any of it, or address it at all? Shocker. Anyways, what do you guys think though? Do you think J.Lo is like a menace to society, or is she just like misunderstood?
Now, J.Lo is a performer, not really a singer. I mean, J.Lo claims she performs and sings live, but that isn't always the case. In November of 2021, she was slammed by music fans for allegedly lip-syncing during her American Music Awards performance as she took the stage to carry out her brand new song, On My Way, Marry Me. An angry viewer ranted, "Come on with the overproduced singing, this commercial sounds exactly like her live vocals just did." A commenter pointed out, "Now why are you lip syncing? You have a great voice, just sing the song." Now, this isn't the first time this has happened though, as in 2014 she was caught lip syncing her performance of I Love Ya Poppy on American Idol. And again, fans were not happy about this. But should we really even be shocked? I mean, J.Lo doesn't even sing her own songs in the studio versions. Now, for example, her song Play is sung by AM to PM singer Christina Milian. Christina wrote the song and she sings Play's entire chorus. Ashanti has also lent her voice to J.Lo, playing it off as her own. In fact, you can hear her singing on Ain't It Fun and I'm Real. Ashanti spoke about this in 2014 and said, "I wrote Ain't It Funny. I demoed the record for her before I was signed, and they kept my hook and some of the background and ad-libs and stuff like that. It was bittersweet because I was really excited that it was J.Lo, but I was so mad at not being able to have the record for herself," she said. Shauna Harrell is also alleged to be responsible for some of the vocals in If You Had My Love, and Makeba Riddick apparently is the voice behind All I Have. Now, the chorus from her song Jenny from the Block was rumored to have been sung by Natasha Ramos, who demoed the song. Now, in fact, Natasha addressed the claims in 2019, tweeting, "J.Lo did indeed go in the studio and lay down some background vocals over mine. So I wouldn't say she's so much lip syncing, however the backgrounds are predominantly me and some ad-libs and laughs are as well." When fans found this out, they called out J.Lo for lying and branded the music industry trash and insisting that Jennifer should not be famous for work she never did. But Natasha then stood up for the star. She wrote, "Well, that's a little harsh. J.Lo is one of the hardest working women in business. In my opinion, she certainly deserves all her success. I just deserved more from that project too. That's on the label though, not Jennifer. It's all kind of history at this point, LOL." But J.Lo has also been accused of straight up stealing songs from other artists. Now, one of the stars who accused her of doing this was Usher in 2015. He claimed that she stole a song that he cast aside while recording his hugely successful album called Confessions. Usher claimed that J.Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song he co-wrote the year before, which was only available online. He said, "I hate it, but I better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect J.Lo to just take it." Now, besides all of that, it's been revealed that J.Lo is a cheater. Now, Jennifer and Ben Affleck had an on-again, off-again romance that has been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Benifer. Now, they just got divorced this year. It was a huge thing, but the timeline of their relationship in general is a huge red flag and included alleged cheating. So in July of 2002, Jennifer filed for divorce from her second husband, Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after J.Lo wrapped the movie Gilgy alongside her then boyfriend Ben. Now, even though she repeatedly denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in The Hollywood Reporter gushing about J.Lo before her divorce wasn't yet finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father Larry spoke out against the couple and accused J.Lo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of Gilgy, saying, "I thought Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer." He added that she'd be happier if she just tell the truth, and no one in her little circle is going to say one negative thing about her. Now, this is quite ironic because just years before, J.Lo accused Diddy of cheating on her and how heartbroken it left her. Now, I have to bring up J.Lo's infamous movie line interview in 1998. Now, this very well could have ruined J.Lo's career, as at the time she was 27 and fresh off the success of her film Selena. Now, she basically decided to trash all other celebrities that were big at the time and tried to trivialize their career and their contributions to the industry. In fact, when asked about Madonna, J.Lo actually said, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." Now, this was so ironic because J.Lo would go on to do both music and acting for the rest of her career, and critics also trashed her acting on the big screen. Also, at the time, Madonna had been a star for a lot longer than J.Lo, so there was really no comparison there. And when Gwyneth Paltrow was brought up, Jennifer almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. "Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work," she said. Now, yikes, this did not go over well, and hey, I can't blame the celebrities she dissed for being upset. Now, this year, Jennifer recently released her documentary on Amazon Prime called This Is Me Now, A Love Story, which gave behind-the-scenes looks into her new album, This Is Me Now, and the accompanying movie, The Greatest Love Story Never Told. Now, some fans who watched it, though, took to social media to call Jen out for her lies. In one scene, Jennifer poses in the mirror of her personal gym as she shakes out her hair and reminisces about her childhood in the Bronx. "I feel like taking my hair out like this. It reminds me like when I was 16 in the Bronx, running up and down the block, crazy little girl who used to be wild and no limits, all dreams," she said. However, a TikTok user, Photos by Angela, slammed the star in a series of videos as she claimed to have gone to the same Catholic high school as Jennifer and accused her of lying about her experience living in the Bronx. She said, "We both attended an all-girls high school in an Irish and Italian neighborhood, so you weren't running up and down the block." In fact, the Bronx is a place that J.Lo actually avoids. Now, how do we know this? Well, due to a commercial she filmed. The commercial is from 2011, and the caption to it on YouTube says, "This commercial is titled My World and is voiced over by Lopez, who is seen driving a Fiat 500 Cabrio as she travels through the streets of Manhattan to the Bronx where she grew up." The new ad explores her personal take on how life in the New York City borough continues to inspire her to be tougher, to stay sharper, and think faster. But this ad backfired when it was reported that she never actually went to the Bronx to film the ad, and that a body double stand-in was used instead. And I mean, if you watch the ad knowing this information, it's pretty obvious. I mean, why not just ditch J.Lo and use a different celebrity who would actually show up on set? Now, it's just crazy that they let her get away with this. J.Lo was married to her first husband, Oani Noah, for only 11 months, but the short union caused years worth of court appearances and drama, and it's still going on actually, even after over 2 decades. About $21 million have been thrown around over the years between all the involved parties. Noah, it seems, has worked in 2 major careers during his lifetime: entertainment and the restaurant scene. He met and married J.Lo when he was a waiter. Leading up to the divorce, he had opened up his own restaurant, and then post-divorce he managed J.Lo's restaurant after she asked him if he wanted to do it. Honestly, when it comes to the restaurant aspect of it all, him and J.Lo seem like they're on pretty good terms until 2002, but we'll get into that. Originally, it seemed like he just resented her for issues when it came to Hollywood. Noah has accused J.Lo of using her connections to prevent certain TV shows and people from working with him, tarnishing his reputation by allegedly spreading rumors and taking him to court and things like that. It turns out that the show he might have been talking about being barred from was American Idol when J.Lo was judging. Allegedly, he was planning to make an appearance, but due to his history with the star, it was stopped by her. Both parties have made it clear that they went into this marriage to stay together and tried to work things out. J.Lo said she was raised to be family-oriented, and Noah said that as a pioneer and the first of her husbands, he was a good husband because he believes in marriage, supported J.Lo at the beginning by dealing with her insecurities and anxieties. Noah recently shared his perspective on the beginning of the end. It all fell apart thanks to distance, cheating, and Sean Diddy Combs. J.Lo dated Diddy right after her divorce from Noah. They met while J.Lo was married to Noah, but when being interviewed about their relationship, both stars were adamant that nothing happened until J.Lo was divorced. J.Lo actually said she didn't even like Diddy at first. Clearly, Noah believes differently. He's hinted that he believes J.Lo was cheating on him with Diddy. In addition to working together on a music video, Diddy was involved with J.Lo's first album. At the time, when J.Lo was working on this album, she, according to Noah, had to be in either Miami or New York, but he had to stay in LA to open his new restaurant. He claimed that having the distance between them, plus J.Lo meeting future partners, Diddy and Mark Anthony as well, during that time, resulted in problems the couple just couldn't fix. Despite what sounds like a lot of problems, the couple said they split on good terms, though Noah was heartbroken over it. Him and J.Lo actually found their way back into a partnership with each other, although the context was a lot different. She was opening her own restaurant and needed a manager. Noah has a lot of experience in the field, plus even though they weren't together anymore, she still viewed him as family and wanted to take care of him. She apparently promised him that she wouldn't fire him from the position unless there was a good reason. Noah held that position for 6 months before being fired for a reason he never figured out. He claims that he tried to contact J.Lo, but she wasn't answering him, so he escalated the situation and sued for damages. It did go in his favor. He got $125,000. In comparison to later court dates, the amount of money will seem pretty small, I promise. The $125,000 came with a condition though. The man must never publicly speak about his past relationship with J.Lo negatively. But something must have happened then that stung deep, because Noah broke this condition only a few years later when he tried to publish a book that was exclusively about his romance with Jenny from the Block. It was going to include all the cheating allegations per some court documents, based on other comments from Noah in future interviews where he said that he would deal with J.Lo's insecurities, he hated being on the red carpet despite her wanting him to appear with her, and how the couple would often fight and pretend everything was okay. It's likely that the book was not going to be a kind reflection of J.Lo, and this is where the cover-ups started. J.Lo obviously did not want a book by her ex in rotation, so she blocked the release. Taking her ex to court, her representation argued that Noah breached their previous contract, that he would keep the details of their relationship under wraps. This time, the courts ruled in favor of Lopez, and she was awarded $545,000 total. $200,000 of that was damages, the rest for arbitration costs and attorney's fees per CBS News. It was also reported that everything related to the book was to be given to Lopez. It was at this hearing that a permanent injunction was issued. Noah could no longer criticize, cast in a negative light, or otherwise disparage or cause disparagement to Lopez. Despite Despite the injunction, Noah would go on to attempt to release a movie about the relationship that would allegedly include home videos of Lopez. She sued for $10 million, won, but then was sued by a producer for that film for $10 million. That was dismissed though. It's clear that J.Lo really is not interested in the public finding out the details of her first marriage. Awani Noah's potential film about his relationship with Lopez was allegedly supposed to be a mockumentary or like a parody style film. I guess they thought that they would get around the rule against Noah that he had to refrain from disparaging J.Lo publicly. There was also the rumor that it was going to include some of over 11 hours of unseen private home footage of the couple. That was in pretty clear violation of the rules, so it makes sense that J.Lo and her team stepped in. She sued for $10 million for, per today, breach of contract, violation of publicity rights, invasion of privacy, and more. So that affected Noah and producer Meyer for that film, but the other producer of the film, Vasquez, was not included, so they hit back with their own lawsuit. They were suing J.Lo now, also for $10 million. They had been working on a different J.Lo related project, this one called I Owe J.Lo, and I believe that this one was supposed to be about the time that J.Lo and Noah went to court over his book about their relationship, where he violated their privacy agreement and then was required to pay her over $500,000. So this one was technically not about J.Lo and Noah's relationship in the past, but kind of like an extension of it. It was very confusing. Point is, because J.Lo had just very publicly sued and stopped her ex over not just his book, but also a potential movie, Vasquez's movie was just scrapped. In their words, their film became radioactive. Why would a studio risk financing something if there's a very real possibility that it will get shut down before making it in the air? The whole situation almost worked out in the producer's favor, but the whole case was based on a cease and desist letter that was ultimately ruled to be privileged legal communication that can't be used in court. With no case, it was dismissed, and J.Lo technically won. Despite how it all ended, from interviews Noah has done in the past, it seems like the couple was incredibly in love at first and had a sweet wedding ceremony. J.Lo has echoed this, however, she did look back on the marriage a few years ago, and her comments were interesting. She said that she doesn't really count her marriage to Noah since it was so short, and at that point in her life, she thought that if she married someone, that would mean there would always be someone there for her. Something she now realizes is a bad reason to get married. In a resurfaced interview from around 1999-ish, J.Lo mentioned that towards the end of her marriage, there were a lot of problems, something Noah inadvertently agreed with when he commented on the fact that Ben Affleck has a resting grumpy face when he's out with J.Lo. Noah claimed that he understood Affleck as him and J.Lo used to have a lot of arguments, but have to pretend everything was okay for the cameras only minutes later. J.Lo hinted at what some of the issues between the couple might have been in an interview after their divorce, saying that she believed that he was insecure when it came to finances and her being richer than he was, and she likely always would be. She also once suggested that he had wanted a relationship where J.Lo would stay home while he goes out and makes the money, but alas, she became a millionaire and paid for their home. As for J.Lo's current divorce from Ben Affleck, it's looking like that story is going very, very differently. Reports have said that the couple split has been going pretty well. They've agreed to part with what they each made during the marriage and what they had before. The only sticky parts are the home that they bought together, but with a team of experts working with them, that will likely be smoothed over in no time.
Jennifer Lopez just can't seem to keep a man, a relationship, or a marriage. It seems like every 3 years we're saying another one bites the dust for J.Lo. She's been married like 4 times and none have lasted, but why? It's not surprising that she's been in several high-profile relationships over the years. She's been very public with each and every one of them, so we get to see, the rise and fall. And while it's not uncommon for celebrities to experience relationship challenges, J.Lo's personal life, and in particular her love life, has always been subject to media scrutiny and speculation. Now, it's alarming to say the least that she hasn't been able to make any marriage work, and there could be various reasons as to why, they may not have lasted. Many people blame the intense media attention, saying that her relationships are always under a microscope, which obviously puts a lot of pressure on her and her partner. Now, some people have put blame on J.Lo's, very busy schedule, saying she's always go, 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 go between acting, singing, dancing, and any other business ventures that she's in. It seems like she's always away and always booked and busy, which, great if you don't have a marriage to maintain, but not so great if your partner is waiting for you constantly just to even go to dinner. Of course, many people have, just said that she's too selfish, too self-absorbed, and thinks that, the world revolves around her. But one one person has actually flipped the script a little bit and said that she simply has a talent for picking the wrong men, saying that she needs a man who is going to be supportive and respectful of her time and commitments. Either way, it seems as though she struggles in this area of her life, and I'm actually curious to see what 2025 holds for her. If J.Lo is going to do one thing, it will be telling us all for decades now how she's from the Bronx. But the question that's, popped up over and over and over again over the years is how authentic is she when she discusses this and makes claims that just don't seem to add up. J.Lo's three-part self-funded album and documentary projects, This Is Me Now, the album, the movie, and The Greatest Love Story Never Told, the documentary, had some moments that went absolutely viral for the wrong reasons, of course. Now, in one clip while working out, she sees her messy hair in the mirror and very earnestly kind of references her days as Jenny on the block. She says, "I like taking my hair out like this. It reminds me when I was 16, in the Bronx, running up and down the block, crazy little girl, who used to just be so wild with no limits, all dreams." The primary complaint here is that Lopez grew up in a very nice part of the Bronx, and even still, she has lived in Hollywood for the last 3 decades and is worth $400 million. So she should stop acting like she's repping the Bronx from what is probably her private gym. Now, the funnier part about all of this is that this one particular scene apparently got rehearsed 12 times. And so it wasn't natural and just off the top of her head she wanted it to be portrayed. One person on TikTok claimed she and Lopez had gone to the same Catholic high school and accused Lopez of actually, using the Bronx to look human. She said, "We both attended an all-girls high school in an Irish and Italian neighborhood, so you weren't running up and down the block." Another person said, "Girl, you haven't been to the Bronx since 1993. Please stop." With another person adding, "She should just build a community center in the Bronx, invest in cleaning it up, putting in a nice park. She could even put a statue of herself for her ego and start, mentoring kids growing up in the Bronx." Someone even found an old photo of J.Lo with her hair from high school, and it wasn't giving crazy and running up and down no block. It was giving kept and clean private school energy. It was just another moment where J.Lo tried way too hard to be relatable, but it backfired and made her look even worse. J.Lo is allegedly one of the rudest celebrities to have any type of encounter with, and despite her claims of having a very humble beginning, apparently that did not instill a sense of humility in her. For years now, many servers and staff have reported, that J.Lo is tough to work for. In 2022, amid a TikTok storm of fans sharing negative encounters with Lopez, one woman took to the app to claim that the Jenny from the Block singer is rude to her drivers. Kayla claimed her father once worked for a company that Lopez often hired to provide drivers and said her dad would refuse to drive J.Lo after hearing stories about her poor temperament. Kayla alleged that J.Lo does not allow the drivers to look or to talk to her, and that even if the driver looks through the rear view mirror, they could be subjected to a scolding from the diva. Lastly, she also allegedly has a very specific rule: they cannot let her luggage touch the ground. So even if it's heavy, they must carry it. Even if it's got wheels, they must lift it. I just don't understand, but okay. Several TikTok users have also accused Lopez of not tipping her wait staff, but 2 stories in particular take the cake, or in this case, I guess the tip. Now, in one now deleted TikTok, a woman who alleges that she served the star claimed Lopez and her ex-husband, Ben Affleck, are notorious for not tipping servers. She said Ben Affleck had, one of the worst reputations in the casino industry, saying, "We hate him. He's cheap and rude to other players and to staff." The woman claimed Lopez is known for being stingy, saying Lopez tells Affleck not to tip, so he doesn't tip anymore because apparently she has instructed him not to. Another woman on TikTok, whose name is Penny, corroborated the notion of her, being anti-tipping. She claimed that a woman she previously employed at a tavern she managed in Las Vegas once shared a story with her about an experience she had while working at a casino. She claimed she spent one night serving Affleck as, he was at the poker table. She wasn't serving anybody else. And so Ben shockingly gave her an extremely gracious tip of $10,000. However, once J.Lo caught wind of this big tip, she allegedly snatched back the money. Apparently Affleck was so mortified by this that he actually sent a bouquet of flowers and a $25,000 tip the next day. So it would seem as though Ben was under her her spell, and that's why he got, this bad rep for not tipping. I mean, I hope now that he's divorced and released from the shackles that she put on him that he now tips, but who knows? I guess time will tell, right? Now, these bad encounters don't stop there though. Reportedly, a flight attendant told Star magazine that Lopez is an extreme diva and doesn't speak directly to people outside of her inner circle. So the United Airlines worker allegedly said to Lopez, "What can I get you to drink?" But Jennifer refused to even acknowledge. Like, she turned her head away and told her personal assistant, "Please tell him I'd like a Diet Coke." The flight attendant said that she wouldn't even look at him and that he was sad because, she seems so sweet in all of her movies. Another woman on TikTok, Julia Wang, shared her story of meeting one of J.Lo's backup singers. Wang alleges the woman was part of like a Vegas concert that J.Lo was performing for. She said she was so mean to her backup singers and that if you were pretty or if you were a Latina, like game over. She hated you like automatically. Wang further claimed that J.Lo refused to talk or even look at any of them during their many hours of rehearsal time, except for like an occasional eye roll or like a huff and puff. Wang continued to say, she just acted like a bully. Can you imagine spending time with someone working in a closed setting every single day for months and this person never even acknowledges you or acts like you exist? She shared that J.Lo's demeanor does like a complete 180 when a man walks into the room. She only treats the woman poorly because she views them as competition. But the second a man enters, she's like all smiles, very sweet, very soft. And also, I know you may know about this incident, but it's worth revisiting quickly because of how horrible it is. Jennifer Lopez allegedly once got a hotel cleaner fired. Prey Dodage happened to be cleaning Lopez's hotel room in Germany during her 2012 world tour. As a big fan of Lopez, Dodage, tried to ask the star for an autograph, only to have two of her assistants basically stop her soon after Prey was out of a job. She said in an interview, a day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said that Miss Lopez had complained. I was fired right there on the phone because of an autograph. J.Lo received so much backlash for this one because she literally played the role of a hotel maid in her movie Made in Manhattan. And during the release of that film, all of her press tours for it, she talked about the importance of being nice to everyone and how she could relate to her character in many ways in hopes that people respect anyone who finds themselves in that profession. Now, it's so ironic that years later she would not practice what she preaches and would end up getting this lady fired for like an autograph request. Like, that's insane to me. Nevertheless, all of these stories are like a dime a dozen. There's like countless allegations against J.Lo and her very problematic behaviors. People are getting so sick of her kind of like diva-isms, and she may need to eat a big slice of like humble pie soon if she wants to gain some momentum back.
Now, Gilly Liar had been a longtime assistant to J.Lo before she quit and went to work for Mariah Carey in 2013. It's been said that the main reason why she quit was because of J.Lo's boyfriend at the time, Casper Smart. Apparently, Casper was allowed to do whatever he wanted in the house, and this included him mistreating the staff members. That upset Gilly, a source told Radar Online. Casper always insisted that Jennifer's staff call him Mr. Smart, and even demanded that Gilly get him drinks. So it appears that J.Lo let her assistant get disrespected, which is just not okay at all, and it shows what kind of person she really is. Then there's the time when she got everyone to turn on her longtime makeup artist Scott Barnes. There had been a leak on J.Lo's team as they exposed to the press that J.Lo was planning on getting married to Marc Anthony. Now, J.Lo claimed that Scott was one of the employees who betrayed her, so she fired him and made everyone ignore him. The thing was, they never asked him about it though. They just fired him. Now, during an interview on the Jeff Probst show, he claimed that he didn't know anything about the wedding and wasn't the leak, but J.Lo's team still shunned him. Scott said, "Nobody would talk to me, it was like I had the plague." Then, when the truth came out that Scott did not leak the news or even know about the wedding ahead of time, he received a phone call from Jen, who Scott claimed said the following. It was like, "Hey, it was a big misunderstanding, we have a lot of stuff coming up and I really miss you, so let's just get back to work." Although Scott was very gracious about the whole thing, it appears that J.Lo did not apologize to him, and it's just crazy to me that he went back working for her and that no one put a stop to her behavior. Now, near the end of last year, Elon Musk was speaking on the Joe Rogan Experience when he began talking about J.Lo's criticism of the recently elected president and his remarks about Puerto Ricans. Elon then brought up J.Lo's perspective personal history with Diddy as she dated him from 1999 to 2001. He said J.Lo was like his ex-girlfriend, and now all of a sudden she's warning people about this person, but how many people did she warn about Diddy? Oh, 0. Maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion. He added people in the music industry had to know that Diddy was doing these things. Where's that accountability? They had to know. Now, Ojani Noah, J.Lo's ex-husband, claimed that she was involved in Diddy's freak-offs that came up in his federal indictment. "I'm not on the list," Ojani wrote on Instagram. To those people and media outlets asking if I ever went or participated in that piece of Diddy's freak-off parties, no and no, never. But my ex-wife, Jennifer Lopez, aka J.Lo, did. Ask her. But in a shocking turn of events, one of her past assistants has come to her defense. Thea D'Souza, who worked with J.Lo on the 2002 film Made in Manhattan, posted a statement on Threads that said, "If you knew Jennifer Lopez, if you ever worked with her like I did, or if you were close with people who are like family to her like I am, you would know she did not have any idea about Diddy. She barely drinks, she's not a partier, she isn't a good time girl, she's a workaholic who uplifts women, and who was charmed by him for a brief time in her life." Now, Thea emphasized that J.Lo does not deserve to be conflated with Diddy's shocking and criminal misdeeds. So, Thea claims that J.Lo is innocent in all of this, but she's the only one who's spoken out. You see, J.Lo is refusing to speak about her ex Diddy. She walked out of an autograph signing at AFI Fest 2024 when someone in the crowd asked her if she had any comments about Diddy and the allegations. The US Mirror tabloid reported that the singer left immediately, despite fans' pleas that she stay. And don't expect her to say anything. In May, after video footage of Diddy hurting his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura was brought to light, J.Lo stayed silent. Now, many of Diddy's other exes have spoken out against him, but not J.Lo. Though tabloid sources claim that the Cassie footage disgusted her, J.Lo was silent on the subject and has stayed that way. Sources are saying that Jen is not going to address the accusations or take time to talk about them because it's not her story to tell. If an interviewer brought it up, she would cross that path as and when it happens, but she won't address it publicly and will not put herself in that conversation on purpose. Then there was the fact when J.Lo and Marc Anthony's twins needed nannies, J.Lo gave them a grueling schedule. Now, normally people who make a lot of money, like J.Lo for example, have numerous people who help them with everyday tasks, especially childcare, as it can be so difficult. But Jennifer expected one nanny not only to take care of both twins, but to work 16-hour days, 7 days a week, as an insider told the National Enquirer. Now, unsurprisingly, the first nanny she hired left after just a week of working for her. They hired a second nanny, who was wonderful with the twins, but she couldn't take working such long hours without a break, a source said. So then she quit after just a week as well. And yeah, I don't blame them for quitting. I mean, that schedule is just unreasonable. Then in 2022, a girl named Kyla posted a TikTok saying that her dad worked for a company that J.Lo would hire for drivers. But apparently he heard so many bad stories about the star that he never wanted to be her driver. It said that J.Lo does not allow her drivers to look or talk to her. She's also so strict that if the driver looks through the rearview mirror and makes eye contact with her, she will freak out. Not to mention that she has a crazy rule that her luggage cannot touch the ground. Now, it appears that this story is real though, because one of J.Lo's former drivers sued her. Hakab Menokian claims he started driving for J.Lo and Marc Anthony in 2005. He said that the three of them had such a great bond that they convinced him to shut down his company and work exclusively as J.Lo's personal head of security and transportation. He claimed that J.Lo agreed to pay him more than $200,000 per year, but things went downhill in 2011. This is when Hakab claims he was forced to spend time with J.Lo's manager, Benny Medina. He claims that Benny hated him and even found a way to convince J.Lo to demote him, taking away his security responsibilities and making him J.Lo's LA driver, and that was it. Now, he says that he was basically forced to resign and then sued J.Lo and Benny for unspecified damages. J.Lo then countersued him for extortion, but her suit was dismissed in December 2012. Now, the two eventually settled on undisclosed terms, but that honestly just sounds like a horrible situation. And finally, one of J.Lo's backup singers, Julia Wang, posted on TikTok how horrible it was to work with the star. She said she was so mean to her backup singers. If you were pretty or if you were Latina, like, game over, she hated you. Julia also said that J.Lo refused to talk or even look at any of the singers during their rehearsals, except for an occasional eye roll or scoff, which is just crazy. She acted like a bully. Can you imagine spending time with someone working in a closed setting every single day for months, and this person never even acknowledging you or acting like you exist? She asked. And honestly, no, I can't. That sounds like a horrible work environment. Now, she also shared that J.Lo changes the way she acts when there are men present, and Julia added that she only treats the women poorly because she views them as competition. It seems like if you have anything to do with J.Lo, it would just be horrible. One of J.Lo's past assistants has come forward and addressed J.Lo's involvement in Diddy's crime ring. And let me tell you, it's not what you think at all. Thea D'Souza, who worked with J.Lo on the 2002 film Made in Manhattan, posted a statement on Threads recently that said, "If you knew Jennifer Lopez, if you ever worked with her like I did, or if you were close with people who are like family to her like I am, you would know she did not have any idea about Diddy. She barely drinks, she's not a partier, she isn't a good time girl, she's a workaholic who uplifts women and who was charmed by him for a brief time in her life." Now, she emphasized that J.Lo does not deserve to be conflated with Diddy's shocking and criminal misdeeds. So, Thea claims that J.Lo is innocent in all of this, which is a great thing, and it's honestly good to see someone having J.Lo's back at a time like this. They've been digging up photos of J.Lo at parties and have been speculating a lot. Now, besides proof that J.Lo had been to some of his white parties, as she was his girlfriend, there's been zero proof that she had anything to do with the crimes Diddy committed, nor that she even knew about them. While her ex-assistant has stood up for her, J.Lo, for her part though, has stayed silent. And she probably will be for the time being, as she doesn't really address rumors or drama. It's obviously a sensitive subject and is something that the star doesn't want to discuss. So if you meet J.Lo, I'd suggest not asking her about Diddy. Besides, if she has something to say, she will say it eventually. It's a very sticky situation that she's in, and nobody is entitled to her opinion on the whole situation. Now, since breaking up with Diddy, J.Lo has claimed that he was unfaithful during their relationship. Now, maybe this is why she won't talk about him. She could still be hurt by all of this. Now, throughout their relationship and after their breakup, J.Lo was aware of rumors that Diddy was cheating on her. When the pair first met, Diddy essentially love-bombed her. He gave her a ton of attention and told her that he loved her almost immediately. J.Lo said this made her uncomfortable at first, but then she fell for him. As their relationship wore on though, the feelings of doubt crept back in. "It was the first time I was with someone who wasn't faithful," she told Vibe magazine after the breakup. "I was in this relationship with Puff where I was totally crying, crazy, and going nuts. It really took my whole life in a tailspin." Now, she grew increasingly concerned about his fidelity, saying, "I never caught him, but I just knew," she said of his cheating. He said he was going to the club for a couple of hours and then he'd never come back that night. Now, Diddy himself has admitted that he was often unfaithful in relationships. In a 2015 appearance on The Breakfast Club, he said his partners would often be frustrated with his behavior. Now, J.Lo later admitted they broke up and got back together far more than the public knew, which honestly isn't healthy at all. But in 2001, the couple ended things for good. It was scary, and we broke up many times before that and got back together and broke up again, and nobody knew about it. Now, it seems like J.Lo is more stressed out about everything regarding this relationship than participating in Diddy's extracurricular activities. Yes, she attended some of his parties, but that was only when they were dating, and she didn't know what was happening behind the scenes. I mean, when J.Lo was asked about Diddy in 2022 when she was on the Wendy Williams show, things got, well, awkward. Wendy asked if she and Diddy would ever get back together, and J.Lo laughed and shook her head as the camera panned to her mother sitting in the audience. Now, J.Lo's mother looked furious as she shouted no while waving her hand back and forth. Now, reposting the clip on Twitter, one fan wrote, "Some of y'all didn't catch J.Lo's mom's reaction when Wendy Williams said this. Yeah, I feel like this says a lot about their relationship. Clearly there was something going on and she didn't want to be associated with him anymore. And the fact that J.Lo's mom doesn't like Diddy, that speaks volumes. Recently, some shocking information was revealed from someone who attended Diddy's exclusive parties. On November 1st, former model Rachel Kennedy appeared on Daily Mail's The Trial of Diddy podcast to share her experience. Now, during her appearance, Rachel revealed that when she met Diddy in the year 2000, Diddy allegedly played J.Lo's music videos on a continuous loop in his hotel room while he was reportedly on the phone with the singer. It was kind of an odd thing to find out that we were watching J.Lo's video, she said, describing it as it's a little bit creepy and very disrespectful. Yeah, I'd have to agree with Rachel on that. Rachel, along with two friends, was invited to Diddy's hotel room for a party after meeting him at Seventh Heaven, a topless club in Japan. She shared that it quickly became clear that this was not the type of party they had expected. Rachel recounted that she and her friends initially found Diddy friendly and decided to stay, even after noticing some wild behavior around them. We went in, we didn't think anything strange, he was friendly enough, so we decided, okay, we'll just hang out with him, she said. Now things took a turn though, and it's now believed that this was actually one of Diddy's freak-offs. Rachel went on to say when she and her friends were with Diddy, suddenly one of his bodyguards barged into the room and he looked so violent and angry. He then ejected the women from the room, which came off as a shock to them. She said, "We just couldn't believe what was happening. First of all, how does he have that much access to Puff Daddy's room? That's the first thing I thought. How does he just come in like that?" Looking back at the strange experience, she alleged that the Bad Boy Records founder teaches them the behavior as he's their boss. She added, "He is the puppet master of all of this, and this is why people think it's okay, because he's teaching them that this kind of behavior is acceptable. He's like a cult leader and these people are his disciples," she said. Now this makes sense, as it's been released that Diddy had plenty of rules his employees had to follow when it came to finding him women. A former party planner who worked with Diddy during 2004 and 2005, who wished to remain anonymous, stated that women attending these parties were subjected to weight checks. "We would do a weigh-in if necessary. The girls had to be young and hot, so I always had a scale nearby in case I needed to make sure. The number was 140 pounds, but if a girl was really tall, there was a little bit of discretion involved," said the planner, adding that other requirements included no flab, no cellulite, no overly pierced or tattooed, and no short hair. Now the dress code reportedly demanded women wear short dresses with high stilettos being a non-negotiable. No pants, no jeans, no flat shoes. Every girl had to wear a party dress, preferably very short, just enough to cover her butt cheeks but no longer than mid-thigh, cleavage showing. And every single one of them had to be wearing stilettos. That one, there was no exception, high stilettos. The New York Post quoted the planner as saying. Now it seems like we won't find out more from J.Lo regarding this whole situation unless she's called on to testify in court. But with everything that's been released about Diddy, J.Lo is the least of our problems.